Alright, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy United G1 Universe Quake with his Target Masters, Tiptop, and Heater. And yeah, this is a figure that is okay. I have my issues with this guy. He's fine, all things considered, but I would say one of the biggest aspects about him that's not great is just the tank mode. So this guy is a pretty heavy retool of Skullgrin from Legacy Evolution, I want to say, and yeah, there's definitely some limitations from using that like Cybertronian tank mode and trying to make it kind of like more of an Earth tank. Really, it's like, okay, he's got some new treads which look nice, and he's got a lot of messy stuff up here, and then he just has this like turret-shaped panel that plugs onto the top here, which yeah, it's not great. I would say the turret's like not totally centered on the tank either. It's it's kind of a cute alt mode, but it's definitely not like I would say super accurate to his G1 toy. But I mean that kind of is to be expected, I guess, for some of the figures that come with like double target masters. Like, Needle Nose was a fairly simple figure too. And I don't know, part of me sort of wishes they would just like release these guys separately as some sort of pack or something, so that the deluxe could actually have a full budget, especially since like we don't have the target masters for Spinister anyway. So it's like, I mean, I guess yes, ones came out in Siege that were like his target masters, but some of them were like in 3-packs and stuff like that, and they were all using like the same 3 like target master molds, which wouldn't really fit in with the ones that came with Quake and Needle Nose. So I don't know, maybe they'll do another Spinister soon, but I don't think they're going to be doing a better Spinister than Siege Spinister. So I don't know. Yeah, he comes with these guys. They are very similar to Needle Noses in that they're just 2 pieces, like pretty much the sculpted robot mode, and then you flip out the gun barrels, and that's pretty much it. Heater is a little bit different than how he used to be, because on his G1 toy, Heater was pretty much black with the blue accents. Like the robot mode looks pretty accurate, but instead of the gun mode being blue, his gun mode would be black. But obviously to fit with the stuff that's on the tooling here, I think all the black pieces are either like that palm stuff or painted on, whereas the blue is actually has a sprue on the mold, so it makes sense. I'm not too bothered by it. And then with Tiptop here, he's fairly accurate to how he used to be. Again, he's maybe a little bit more purpley than like pinky like he used to be, but otherwise it works well. But yeah, you can store these guys on here if you want. You could just like plug them onto the top of the cannon, which makes his already kind of dumb looking tank mode look, I would say, even a little bit dumber. You could peg them onto the sides here, which again, everything just always sits very front forward on this guy, unfortunately. But they could also just be walking along, since they don't really need storage as target masters, since they have their own individual robot modes. But yeah, they're okay. Nothing really too groundbreaking here with these guys. They're basically pretty much the same as the G1 guys, just a little bit different, but nothing too advanced there. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, there's no also I should say there's no like rolling wheels or anything. He just sits there, since there were no rolling wheels on the Skullgrin mold either. And yeah, it was fine. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe. Obviously that does not really scale at all, since a tank should be much larger, but whatever, it barely looks like an Earth tank anyway, so I guess who cares. For an average size deluxe tank, here he is with Kingdom Warpath, so you can see what the two of them look like together. Here he is with Skullgrin, so you can see there's quite a bit different on this mold here. There is, I think, like the arms in robot mode are the same mold, and then mostly everything else has changed aside from some like internal bits, but he's kind of flipped around from how Skullgrin was too, because like you can see the arms peeking out here are the same sculpt as here, but it's all flipped around in a different way. So you can see it's a kind of a creative use of this mold, but you can also see the limitations and why it's not maybe as clean as it could be up here, but whatever. And then last but not least, here he is with Needle Nose and Spinister. So you can see we have our full trio of Decepticon double target masters here, which is pretty exciting to see. It'd be nice if they got around to doing the Autobot ones. I mean, we got Scoop like years ago, but they could probably do an updated version of that figure as well. But yeah, I think these guys are pretty cool together. It is a bummer that, because we got Spinister in Siege before they were doing the Target Masters, like he doesn't have his Target Masters. He just has some guns that are kind of in the same like shape as them. But honestly, Spinister is a much better figure than either of these guys. So it kind of makes me wish that they had done them more like him, just made him like standalone figures with accessories and just, not included the Target Masters, and maybe done them as a separate pack. I don't know. But either way, that's what the three of them look like together. Transformation is somewhat similar to Skullgrin. You can take the turret off. It pretty much stores in the same place here in robot mode, so I just leave it here. But if you find that easier to take that off, you can. But yeah, to start off for transformation, basically what you want to do is take this bit on the turret and just fold it up like that so the cannon tabs into place there like that. Then we're going to take the treads basically, and we want to, they tab in a couple places here, and then into the arms, so you sort of have to like split them as you separate them from these sections so that these tabs can untab as well. You just want to bring those down and bring the whole waist section in so it kind of like locks into place like that. And then for each leg here, basically what we're going to be doing is taking this little front section of the treads, and you want to unclip that here and bring it around, and you want to flip this section all the way around like that onto the armature there. You want to take the leg structure here, you can unfold the foot and then just double hinge this out, which sometimes can cause this bit to like, pop off the friction clip, unfortunately, but if you know where things are supposed to go, it's not too difficult to avoid. But yeah, you want to flip it around like that, and then take this panel, fold it in there like that, and then you want to have the knee kind of bent here, so you have the clearance to take this section of the treads, and it'll actually flip around the knee this way, so it will kind of come in here and kind of complete the leg, and then the front little tab there will go into the bit of the front treads. So kind of a clever leg transformation there. It's a little bit cumbersome, but it is kind of a neat trick there to get all those things arranged in the correct way. So we just do that on both sides here. Yeah, see, that's what I'm talking about. That can have a tendency to happen there. And then flip this bit around, and there we have the legs all done. The arms are a lot more similar to Skullgrin. You just flip them out to the side, and then we want to open up this chest panel and then flip this around like this. And then while you're going, you want to push this little black armature up so it clicks into place like that. And then you can bring this the rest of the way, lock it in place, close the chest back up, rotate the forearms forward, and flip out the hands from behind here. And there we pretty much have Quake in his robot mode. And yeah, I think he looks pretty good, all things considered. He's a pretty well-proportioned, just like basic-looking robot, which is kind of always how the original Quake was. He doesn't really have like a ton showing like what his alt mode is, aside from like the small turret on his back and the tread legs. Basically, he's just like a basic robot, which is always how Quake has been. But yeah, decent proportions there. I think he looks fairly good. In terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint, I think. It doesn't really get a ton of wiggle back and forth just because of the shape of his head, but you can rotate it there. I also find that he's always looking like just a little bit down, which I can never like get him to not do. Like, it seems like his head should sit like that, but it always just wants to kind of spring down a little bit. It's not really the end of the world, but worth mentioning. The shoulders here can rotate around like that and go out to the side. He does have that sort of like slight butterfly joint that Skullgrin had as well. He's got a bicep swivel, double jointed elbow there that goes about that far. Actually, it's not double jointed. It's just this one joint just sits up a little bit more. Yeah, so single jointed elbow that goes about that far. Nothing at the wrists aside from folding in for transformation. Nice waist cut. Hips can go forward and back and out to the side. He's got those nice hips that are just like part of the hip skirt, so they really like sink into the the body when they rotate, and there's like no like gap in between here either, which I think looks fairly good. He's got a thigh swivel, a little over 90 degrees of bend at the knee, and then tilts at the ankle. And then you can also, well, not really. I was going to say you could have his ankle tilt forward a little bit, but they're kind of blocked by the tread bits here. So, pretty basic articulation, nothing too crazy, but it works well enough. I will say a lot of the joints on him feel a little bit looser than I'd like them to. Like, he's not like floppy by any means, especially because like the legs feel nice and stiff, but the arms, it's just like, okay, yeah, this feels, I don't know, pretty loose. this feels pretty loose, but it's not, again, it's more of just like a hand feel thing than an actual problem, because like, he doesn't really need that much weight to like lift up his arms. I guess, we'll see when we put the target masters in there, but yeah, you can, if you want, like take off the turret. Although because it has a hole here and a peg there, you can't really have him do anything with it. Like you could have him like hold it in his hand like that, but the original toy, this was like a separate thing that you could like peg onto his arm, which you can't really do for him, unfortunately. It pretty much does just have to stay there, but yeah, if you want to like rotate it down, you could do that as well, but I think it looks best how it's supposed to be up like this. But yeah, obviously in terms of his weapons, we can bring back on Tiptop and Heater here, who can just flip open like this and then sit in his hands. Obviously, there's a few different options here. They both do also have a port on the back of them as well, so if you want to combine them, you can kind of do that. Especially with if you plug in Tiptop onto Heater, like the like feet really bump into the hinge here, whereas it works a little bit better the other way if you do it like that. Yeah, which looks fine. I don't know. It looks pretty comparable to how it did with Needle Nose, and I guess this is more of a problem with the with the loose shoulders there, as if you want him to actually hold those up, it's a little bit rough. Or I mean, you could also flip either of them around to do it kind of more how the G1 toy did it, where they would like fold up and be on the back like that. So I think that looks stupid, but you can do it. You can also sorry, getting a phone call there. You can also plug them underneath the arms if you want, which I feel like is a pretty cool look. It's got kind of a nice like underslung effect there, which is kind of neat. But yeah, some decent options. Not really much to do with storage. I mean, you can plug them into the back here, but also, like I said, I don't really expect storage all that much with Target Masters, because like they're dudes. They can just like walk around. They don't need to be stored on his person. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just to start off with, I just wanted to show the two little guys off with the ones that came with Needle Nose. They're not the same molds at all. They are entirely new. But they're obviously pretty comparable in terms of how they work. So you can see what the four of these guys look like together. And then in terms of other comparisons, just for the standard one, here they are with Kingdom Sideswipe. So you can see he's a fairly tall Deluxe there, which is kind of nice to see. Here he is again with Kingdom Warpath, just for that, tank Deluxe comparison. Here he is again with Skullgrin, so you can see he's even quite a bit taller than Skullgrin, since like a lot of the remolding here is like what was done in the legs, like the thighs and the hips are all different. Really, like there's some armature sections in the middle that are the same, and then like the arms, like bicep down, are the same. But other than that, he's pretty much a new figure. Oh, it looks like the feet are the same as well. But yeah, no, some like connective tissue, and obviously the way the transformation works, but they're pretty different figures, all things considered. And then last but not least, here he is again with Needle Nose and Spinister, just so you can see what the three Decepticon double Target Masters look like together. And yeah, it's a pretty good looking bunch. Like I said, I think that Spinister is a much better figure than either of the two of them, and part of that is due to the fact that he didn't come with the Target Masters, so he didn't have like these eating up like budget. So part of me wishes they'd kind of done that with these guys too, but they're fine figures. They're not like terrible. They're just kind of okay. Like I don't know, I'd say Quake is probably the weakest out of the three of them. Like Needle Nose is like simple, but he does look good in both modes, whereas Quake's tank mode I think is a little bit rough, and I do wish that the tolerances were a bit better on his arms, but your mileage may vary there depending on your own copy. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about him. He's an okay figure, and nothing really groundbreaking, but fine, all things considered. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. And without further ado, here we have Transformers Legacy United G1 Universe Quake.